Explore the fascinating origins of Jujutsu in this captivating journey through history. From its roots in ancient Japan to its evolution into modern martial arts practices, delve into the rich tapestry of techniques, philosophies, and cultural influences that have shaped this dynamic combat art. Discover the profound connection between Jujutsu and the samurai warriors and how it has adapted and diversified over centuries to become a globally recognized form of self-defense and personal development. Join us as we uncover the timeless wisdom and enduring legacy of Jujutsu's origins. Jujutsu, a Japanese martial art rooted in the concept of gentleness or flexibility, ju, and technique or art, jutsu, is widely known in the Western world as Jiu-Jitsu or Jujutsu. It encompasses both self-defense techniques and competitive combat sports, employing a range of techniques, including strikes, atemi-waza, throws, naja-waza, joint locks, kansetsu-waza, and grappling to incapacitate opponents. While its precise origins remain shrouded in uncertainty, it is widely believed that Jujutsu emerged and flourished within the training grounds of Japan's samurai warrior schools. However, some theorists suggest potential Chinese influences through practices like shuaijiao. The art's creation was driven by the realization that warriors could find themselves weaponless in battle, necessitating a form of unarmed defense. Consequently, techniques gradually shifted towards throws and joint locks, as blunt force strikes proved ineffective against armored opponents on the battlefield. Samurai, bound by the code of Bushido, were required to master various combat disciplines to safeguard not only their own lives, but also those of their feudal lords, daimyo, in a range of circumstances. As Jujutsu evolved, it became a comprehensive system of combat, adaptable to diverse combat scenarios, reflecting the pragmatic needs of Japan's warrior class in feudal times. History. The term Jujutsu is the result of a double error, a translation error, due to the European phonetic system versus the Japanese phonetic system, which resulted in Ju and Jutsu being transformed into Jujitsu in European countries where it initially migrated. The second error stems from an imperfect understanding of hiragana script. The syllable ju does not exist in its pure form in Japanese. It is a contraction of the syllables ji and yu. The combination of these two syllables forms ju and not ju. Ju is the Chinese pronunciation of the same writing and is now used to differentiate the Brazilian Western style of combat, Jiu-Jitsu. Jujutsu in Japan was originally composed to designate combat techniques involving the use of small weapons and unarmed techniques. In this context, the term came to encompass a wide variety of combat styles that had developed up to that point. The term Jujutsu historically has its first written record in the 14th century, during the Sengoku period when the country experienced a violent period of civil war. However, it is difficult to pinpoint the exact historical origins of this process or its initial seed, although there are accounts of fights or duels since 500 BC. It is accepted, however, that cultures in contact exchanged elements, including martial disciplines. Thus, informally, there was this coexistence due to the migration of people, traders, fishermen, diplomatic agents, etc. Additionally, during conflicts and military encounters involving Japan, both victors and vanquished logically sought to learn and appropriate those effective methods on the battlefield. India, China, Mongolia, and other countries in the region engaged in conflict, making martial arts an important aspect of their cultures. In any case, there were confrontations involving military forces where unarmed combat was not only composed of blunt force strikes, but also throwing and immobilization techniques. In China, at the Shaolin Temple, Chuan Fa, or Kung Fu, the more common term in the West, emerged as a martial art, but also as a sport and physical conditioning regimen. Under this name, there is a wide range of diverse styles that are practiced. The variety of techniques and strikes in martial arts can vary greatly, with different emphases on certain movements or methods of application. Looking back, there is mention that between the 3rd and 8th centuries BC, a form of close combat was practiced in China, which included techniques similar to those of Jujutsu. Some of the skills trained undoubtedly included joint locks, control, and throws. Certain techniques and martial arts seem to have migrated to Japan from India and China, particularly around the 2nd century BCE, where they were adapted to local practices. However, there were subtle differences between Jutsu and Chinese martial arts, particularly in focus and movement style, with Chinese arts favoring circular movements, while Japanese arts favored angular displacements. In feudal Japan, characterized by the dominance of the samurai class, their way of life, Bushido assigned each social class a specific and essential function within the system. At the top was the emperor, who held political, military, and religious supremacy, although military and political power were sometimes assumed by the shogun. Beneath them were the daimyos, feudal lords who controlled a retinue of samurai. Below them, when leaderless, were the ronin. Supporting the economy were the peasants, the majority of society, including farmers, herders, fishermen, and those without possessions. Then came the artisans, who, despite providing tools for others, were despised for not producing food. Finally, there were the traders. Despite his privileged status, which dictated that a samurai should not engage in productive activities, such as farming, mining, or herding, and they would be supported by a lord, with the classes below them owing them respect and deference in daily life. He was not allowed to pursue activities outside of their own class or status, when their combat skills were not required. Japanese warriors lived for a singular purpose: to perform on the battlefield. They practiced various disciplines such as kenjutsu, sword handling, katana, bato jutsu, sword cutting, iaijutsu, sword drawing, kyujutsu, archery, bojutsu, staff techniques, naginata, halberd techniques, sojutsu, spear techniques, yari, and unarmed combat. However, unarmed combat was not yet referred to as jujutsu, but it developed alongside other disciplines in particular schools or lineages, known as koryu or kobudo. During this time, unarmed combat, or what would become jujutsu, was identified by various names such as toraite, kumiuchi, taijutsu, kogusoku, koshinomawari, or wajutsu. Unarmed close combat evolved as a natural consequence of a refinement process. This pattern repeated in various regions, not only in Japan, but also in other countries. In Okinawa, for example, a martial art very similar in characteristics to Jujutsu called Gotende was practiced. It was typical of the elite of the Ryukyu kingdom and was known as exclusive to the court, often referred to as torit. The term Jujutsu was not coined until the 16th century when the Takenouchi Ryu school emerged, gathering techniques applied with bare hands, representing a soft art to differentiate it from the considered rigid disciplines. In addition to weapon skills such as the katana or the jita, which were considered hard or rigid arts, or kojutsu, aiming to cause cutting, striking, piercing wounds, etc., one should study unarmed combat, which were the soft arts, or jujitsu, focusing not on seriously injuring the opponent, but on subduing them with minimal energy expenditure. There were several factors that influenced the emergence of the art. During the Middle Ages and the Modern Age, when there were no wars or conflicts requiring the services of samurais, they were either seen or known to be involved in disturbances and bad habits, such as drunkenness. This type of occurrence became more common and apparent during the Tokugawa shogunate in the 15th century, when, after the establishment of a strong central government, there was a long period without major disputes. If the bad behavior of the samurais was tolerated in previous times, the same did not happen with the approach of the contemporary age. However, the Meiji Restoration occurred, causing the last shogun to lose prestige and political military power. And with this advent, the entire way of life of the past, symbolized by the samurais, was relegated to a marginal position. The events of that period were the final catalyst. During the transition from the 19th to the 20th century, a recognized Jujutsu master made significant modifications to the martial art, incorporating and emphasizing philosophical and pedagogical principles. Master Jigoro Kano created what, for political reasons, became known as Judo. Another great master, Morihei Ueshiba, gathered his knowledge of Jujutsu, based on the Daito Ryu style, and expansively other martial arts, forming a new modality, Aikido, which is a much softer form of Jujutsu than Judo, emphasizing energy control, Kai, concepts about the flow of this energy, such as Dosen and Tai Sabaki, and projections focused more on the opponent himself. Furthermore, in the early 20th century, Jujutsu underwent significant influence from karate, with notable Jujutsu masters deeply practicing and studying the Okinawan art, eventually becoming great masters in both disciplines. This was the case with masters Yasuhiro Konishi and Hironori Otsuka, who respectively created two styles of karate, Shindojinen Ryu and Wado Ryu, blending aspects of both. It is also worth noting that Master Gichin Funakoshi, the greatest promoter of karate in Japan, taught his style at the Kodokan Center and eventually studied with Jigoro Kano, even adapting some Nage Waza techniques. Japan currently, Jujutsu is still practiced, associated with the samurais of ancient Japan. It's worth noting that in the case of this traditional art, the words Ju, flexibility, gentle, soft, and Jutsu, art, technique, are the same as those used to classify Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, popularized by the Gracie brothers. It is believed that this branch was spread in Europe by Minoru Mochizuki. In the practice of traditional Jujutsu, disciplines using weapons are associated, such as tanto, knife, tanbo, staff, kubotan or kashinobo, similar to a pen, tonfa, used by police forces, bo, long staff, and katana, among others. With a focus on personal, military, or police defense, it encompasses techniques of striking, throwing, immobilizing, controlling, strangling, and resuscitating, in addition to being combined with therapeutic massage techniques, shiatsu or sitai. The major difference between traditional and Brazilian styles may be the use of different weapons, bukiwaza, and a lesser emphasis on ground fighting in traditional Jujutsu, which also employs control techniques like hojojutsu. In this art, grading systems also differ, along with a stronger connection to Japanese customs and traditions. The bond with the master is very strong, and Japanese expressions and names regarding techniques are frequently used. In conclusion, whether it's Jujutsu or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, these martial arts carry a rich heritage of tradition, discipline, and skill. From their origins in ancient Japan to their global popularity today, they continue to evolve and inspire practitioners worldwide. Through rigorous training, practitioners not only hone their physical abilities, but also cultivate mental strength, resilience, and respect for others. Whether pursued for self-defense, sport, or personal development, Jujutsu and Jujitsu offer a path to self-improvement and a deeper understanding of oneself and one's place in the world. As these martial arts continue to thrive and adapt in the modern age, their timeless principles endure, enriching the lives of those who embrace their teachings. If you liked it, take a look at these videos that are in the cards at the end. Like, comment, share, and see you in the next video.